Hi everyone, this is Kristen from the Erie County Conservation District, right here on the shore of Lake Erie, one of our 5 Great Lakes. Today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about how water travels through the 5 Great Lakes up here. Erie, Pennsylvania is well known for our crazy and intense weather patterns, and the lakes play a great part in what we see here. So I'd like to take a few minutes today to show some examples and give a little explanation as to how the Great Lakes are connected and how that affects all of the populations and the earth systems along the shoreline.
Several weeks ago, one of these very intense weather patterns occurred here in Erie. Normally, on your average day, the breezes are light and the shoreline looks like what you see here. There might be some light waves lapping the shore, or in the summertime, often in the evening, the lake calms down so much that it appears to be like glass, and you can paddle for miles watching the sunset or the moonrise and really enjoying all of the wildlife that comes out. However, a few weeks ago, in addition to the high level of water that we are already seeing in Lake Erie, the winds picked up, and this is what we saw. The devastating result was an incredible amount of erosion along the shoreline. And then I began to hear the question, when the water level in Lake Erie is particularly high, why doesn't it drain out immediately and go back to average levels? Perhaps if it did, we wouldn't have this amount of devastation when storms arise. To answer that question, we need to go back and look at what a watershed is and how the Great Lakes are formed and connected. What is a watershed? A watershed is the area of land that drains to a particular point along a stream. Basically, that means when it rains or snows, it's going to hit the highest points of land first, and then it's going to run downhill and collect in creeks and streams and rivers, which then run together and collect into larger bodies of water like ponds and lakes and oceans. Now, when the Great Lakes were formed, they actually were formed by glaciers. And when the glaciers began to recede, they left giant depressions or bowl shapes in the earth. And as the glaciers began to melt and precipitation was added to it, we now have 5 great freshwater lakes as a result. A great way to remember the 5 Great Lakes is Holmes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. And as you can see, these lakes actually all connect to each other and the water flows from one lake to the other. So Superior water flows right into Huron, and so does Michigan. Those 3 lakes then flow into Lake Erie. Lake Erie flows into Lake Ontario, right out the St. Lawrence River and into the Atlantic Ocean. And all of those lakes have other tributaries and creeks, ponds, and smaller lakes that are connected to them. There's an incredible amount of water that is flowing into these 5 Great Lakes all at one time, possibly some precipitation and snow melt. All of that water added together and flowing creates a lot of water. Only a small area, Niagara Falls, is where that water exits. There are other exit points that are much smaller, but Niagara Falls is the biggest exit point for all of that water. So that answers the question. The water table is so high right now because of the high amount of precipitation, but also the incredible amount of water collection from all of the Great Lakes. Also, we talked a little bit about that weather event and the erosion we saw on the shores of Lake Erie. Lake Erie normally freezes in the winter, and those ice dunes protect our shoreline, but not this year. You can see from this house, there was nothing protecting our shoreline from that icy cold wind and rain and snow. But spring is here, summer is on the way, and I'm encouraging everybody to head outside and explore your lakes and creeks and streams. Really see what's going on out there. See what it looks like in July and then again in October. If you can, go back out next spring and compare what you see next year to what you remember from this year. It's a great way to explore outdoors and keep up with what's going on. So enjoy.